All right, um, we're going to learn to find a terminator here. Now, here's just a piece of sequence that I went and cut out of our long 8,000 base pair sequence, and we're going to look for a termination signal in it, and or a terminator. And I made a fake terminator just to show you. Notice right here, all right, I have a long stretch of A's and T's. So here's some A's and T's here. Actually, it even goes back up to here. So here, don't do it. Quite a few A's here. Still A's. It's not perfect. All right, A's, A's. Then some C's and G's right here, and then some T's. All right, so long stretch of T's here. Then you get a small group of G's and C's. All right, then you get lots of A's and a few T's, but not very many G's and C's in there. And so this is my fake terminator. And I just grabbed a piece randomly and I kind of created this sequence. And we're going to see when we do a dot plot what this looks like. All right, now the size of terminators can vary. Sometimes they can be very short, like this one, or they can be very long. But they should show up on a dot plot if you do it right. So let's see what this fake terminator that I created looks like. So this one's medium sized, I guess. And so let's take a look and see. So I have Eugene open over here. So let's go find let's do a dot plot. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down here, and I called it fake terminator, fake term. There we go. And I want to compare it to myself. All right, and I want to make sure I turn on inverted repeats. And we'll just start with 10, and we'll make it 80%. All right, and let's take a look and see what we find. All right, so it's a little messy. There's a lot of space, but I kind of know what we're looking for. And what we're looking for is we're looking for something that crosses this direction near the center line. So you should have the center line, you should have a gap. That'll be where the C's and G's are. So something like this, except for you shouldn't have this. So there's a lot of stuff to choose from here, but some things should stand out to you. And I will tell you right now, because it's all A's and T's, it's going to be real fuzzy, real dark. And actually this is our terminator right here. I already know that. And you can see, there we go. And we've got G's and C's. Doesn't pick up this stuff. I varied it a little bit too much, and it just doesn't pick it up. But this is the one I created artificially, which isn't very easy to see here. All right. But this region right in here is actually the terminator. Now the thing is, I unintentionally found a terminator here. So where do you think the real terminator is? And it's a much larger one. Well, it's this sequence right in here. All right, see this long thing right here? So I created one right here. I just cut and pasted a random piece out, thinking that I wouldn't find a terminator. But there is a real terminator, or likely a real terminator right here. So you can see here's the little one I created. All right, and it's a little dark here. I knew it would be a little dark because I used all A's and T's. But so it's broad, it's thick, however you want to call it, because I used all A's and T's. Now the terminators just have to form a loop. They don't have to actually be all A's and T's. I put a few bases in there to throw it off a little, and of course it didn't pick up the larger pieces because I did throw too many, probably threw a few too many in there. But essentially this is where our terminator that I created is. But if you look right up here, this is a better example, and it's a real one. All right, see this long piece here and here? This is likely a terminator. So when you do realize I put it on what? Direct repeats and inverted repeats. So along the diagonal, where you see a gap right in the middle here, right along the diagonal, and then you get straight lines coming away from it, that's when you're going to find your terminator. And so this is a pretty long one, and that's very nice. You see a hairpin loop here. So, and in fact, you often see straight lines at the end of them. This is actually a really good example. So you might see this and then a T, or this and a cross. You might see two crosses on either side. So you might see a little bit of that here and here, here and here. But this is a nice long one. You don't always see this. The one I created was just really tiny, and it's really dark. Because it's all A's and all T's on each side. It doesn't have to be, it just has to be able to form a hairpin. Now it does tend to have high A and high T content, and then G's and C's in the middle, but it doesn't have to. So it doesn't have to be of this form. Alright, but here, this is very much a hairpin right in here. And I like it because you've got it either has a T, or this piece could actually come down in here and cross it like a small T if you want, instead of a capital T. This kind of has a capital T look, but it could be a small T where the cross is in the middle. But you do need this gap right here. All right, and a lot of times it'll be larger. This could be further out with the gap being larger. But this is definitely a good indicator that this is actually a real terminator, which was just by accident, versus my little bitty terminator that I was making. All right, this is a much larger one and much better example. So we don't actually know that that's a terminator. It's just a hairpin. Hairpins exist in the genome periodically all over the place, but they don't necessarily have, and they form for other reasons. So hairpins form in they're a common structure. It's just that a lot of terminators, the terminators that form hairpins, I mean, that's just one way we can form a terminator. There are terminators that are protein bound. They attract a protein that makes polymerase fall off, and so it would just be like another something similar to a TATA or something at the end, and a different type of protein. And there is that type of terminator, but it's not the most common. The most common is this hairpin loop. So how do you find hairpin loops? And there are hairpin loops that do other things besides termination. Keep that in mind. So this might not be a terminator, but it certainly is a hairpin. So you've got this piece here and this piece here with a little gap in the middle. So this little gap in the middle will be the piece that forms the loop at the top, and this will be a long narrow hairpin. And then if you see things over at the thing, it'll have little branches over here and here. They may indicate that it will be a branching hairpin with more little loops. This one with this big T over here, that might be also mean that it forks and makes another hairpin. You don't have to know any of that. What you're really looking for is this long narrow piece with nothing here in the middle where it hits the diagonal. So keep that in mind. The size, let's see if we can adjust this just a little, maybe to clear it up. So let's make this a little larger. Let's make it 12 and see what happens. When I make it 12, the one I made disappears because mine's not really long. This one kind of stays. All right, you can see that there are two dashed lines, and you don't see anything like that anywhere else along here. Maybe right here and here, but that's a little too far. But the idea here is you see a gap, and you see these two straight lines, and then we still have that cross T kind of thing down over here. So that's kind of neat. Let's see what happens if we, let's make this 15. All right, and reduce this to 70. It's still there. but mine is still kind of here too. Oh, actually, that's better. Mine is beginning to show up down in this region. And you can see we don't see a lot of that kind of structure. Maybe there's something here, but that's kind of reversed a little bit here. You can see there are some potential places for hairpins in different places, but definitely more so here than anywhere else. All right. Let's see here and here. Nah, that's too far. All right, but that's definitely a place where you've got lines coming out, kind of like a reverse diagonal, but with a piece missing here. All right, let's go a little further. Let's make this 20. Oops, not 120. And let's reduce this to, say, 65. This might be way too fuzzy. Yeah, we're getting too much going on now. Though mine is showing up a little better. Mine's getting real close to the center, though. So it's not good. Theirs is getting some stuff in the center. That's not good. Let's see. Let's reduce this to 18 and see what we see. Probably way too much. No. Oh, wow. That just went away completely when I went to... Oh, 100. Let's make it 18. Yeah, it's converging now. You're losing it. We're converging on the center. Let's see. I'll put it back to 70. Yeah. Then let's try and narrow it down. Like maybe we raise it to 75. Yeah. Now it's coming in clearer. And let's increase this by 1. Yeah, mine goes away almost. And that's getting too far away from the center for me to count it really for mine. So I doubt that's but this one has stayed good. So I like that. We got a nice little view there of a real one. It's a hairpin. Now whether or not it's a Terminator, you don't know. But it's at the end. Could be, if this were the gene up here. I just grabbed this sequence randomly out of it. I don't think we necessarily know if it is a hairpin, but whether or not it's a Terminator is a completely different matter. You'd have to look at a lot more stuff to figure that out. The location is at the end of a gene after a open reading frame. Let's see here. Let's see if we can tune it in just a tad better. I'm gonna go to 20 and I'm gonna go to 80. What does that do? Oops. Yeah, everything else kind of clears up and it stands out quite a bit here. Alright, so I kind of like that. Alright, just showing you what you should look for hairpins. Doesn't mean they're Terminators, but usually if you get a T, see now I'm looking at this and this is a little far away. There was a gap, so don't know, but if you see a cross, for sure, you almost always, it's a Terminator, but or a hairpin. So if I see this, there's a gap here, and let's say there's this line removed closer or into the middle of this one, I would say that's a hairpin. But I think this is still a hairpin. Yeah. I'd have to do a little bit more analysis and look to see how well they match up. But that's it. That's how you find a Terminator. Very fuzzy thing. Computers just cannot do this very well. You would think they would do it better than us, but they just find them all over the place, and it's really hard. You kind of have to have some judgment, and you really need to do things in an order. If you don't know that there's a reading frame there already, you really have to find your reading frame and some other things first, and then you just go look for terminators at the end of your gene. So this may not be a terminator, it may not be at the end of a gene, but if we did find something like this at the end of a gene, we'd say, oh, that's the terminator. Then you'd actually go into the lab and check it, make sure, but that would be where we would guess our terminator would be at. All right, and that's all you have to do.